In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an inventor model of the actuator base. So this is the sketch that we'll be working from to create the actuator base. Our base view is going to be to draw this shape right down here on the bottom. So we will have two concentric circles and a rectangle, and we'll be extruding that shape 0.375. We'll be adding a threaded hole in here, and then we will pattern that hole. So in total, we'll need 6 holes that are 0.25 in diameter. They're threaded, so they're 20 threads per inch, unified national course, which we'll talk about in a minute. The width of the rectangle that sticks out is 1 inch on each side. The diameter of the larger circular shape is diameter 2.75 inches. And the diameter of the smaller concentric circle is 1.50. The bolt pattern that we have on here is centered on a diameter of 2.125, and you can see it lines up with the axis that runs right down through the length of the part. And from the center here to the back edge is 3.5. And so once we get that done, we'll extrude it, and then we'll add the other detail to it. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to double click on part, and that's going to open this up. We always start by using project geometry and project the YZ and the XZ plane. I'm going to use the intersection where those two lines cross, and that's where I'm going to draw the 2 circles that I need. So I'm going to use the circle command. I want to snap to that point right there, and I'm going to type 2.75 and press enter because that's my first diameter. I need another diameter. I'm going to snap right there, and this one I want to be 1.5 and press enter. All right, and to add that other piece, I'm going to come out somewhere in here. Maybe I'll just start in here, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and I'm not going to worry too much about the size of the rectangle right now. And I'm going to use the dimension, and I'm going to dimension from this axis here to the back of that and pick, and I want that to be 3.5 and press enter. If that pulls too far back and it pulls the front edge off of your part, you can actually, by pressing escape, just drag on that, and you can drag this back in here. So from this axis here to the back edge, I want that to be 3.5. I'm going to add another dimension in there from this edge here to this axis, and I want that to be 1 and press enter. And I want it to be 1 from this edge to that axis right there because this is a symmetrical part, and I want that to be 1. And you want to make sure that your rectangle still goes inside that larger circle like this one does right there. Okay, and as I said, you can even drag that if you want. You have to press escape, get out of the dimension, but just drag that in a little bit if you need to. At that point, you could use your trim command, so you can pick up here for trim, and you can delete some of this stuff out that you have right here. And that's generally the shape of the base. And so what I would do is finish the sketch and use the extrude command, and you'll have to make sure you get all the quadrants of that. And the height of that extrusion is 0.375 and press enter like that. Now, I would like for this to be sitting on the base, and so a good way to do that is to go over to my orbit tool right over here and pick on that, and then come inside this circle and kind of drag things around just using the pick button on your mouse until you get it about like what you like, something like that's what we want. And then what you're going to do is go to your view cube, and you see this corner right here, the corner pointing at you. That, if I pick on that, it's going to take what I have here and move it to where it's a true isometric, like that. Okay, now I can press escape. So I have my object at an isometric, but that is not my home view, and I want this to be my home view, that orientation. So move your mouse over onto the view cube and right-click your mouse and go where it says Set Current View as Home and pick Fit to View. And that now will be your home view, which is what we would like to have. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick on this plane right here and pick New Sketch. And I'm going to use my Point Center Point tool. And I want to get lined up right on this center point right here. And if you move your cursor onto that, Inventor will kind of grab that point and then just follow right along there and just pick like that. So I'm going to place a point center point on there, and now I'm going to use a dimension. And I'm going to dimension from here to this center point, just like that, and pick. Now, if I want to project some geometry in there, let me just cancel that for just a second. If I pick project geometry and I go over here, you can see that I could project that into there, and I can project that in there, and then I have my green geometry that I can dimension to. And I'm going to double click on this distance right here, but before I do that, I want to show you what I'm up to here. You see this diameter 2.125? That is what the diameter of this bolt pattern is. So if I measure from this center to there, that would be half of that. So that's the dimension that I want. So I'm going to double click right here, and I'm going to type 2.125 divided by 2. 2.125 divided by 2, and press enter. So that places that right where I want it. And remember, I went right down this center line right here, so I know I'm on that. If I were off that center line, I could actually put a dimension in from the point center point to this center line and bring that back to 0 so that they're directly on the line like that. But at that point, I'm finished with the sketch. So because I've placed a point center point there, I can go to the hole tool. And what I want this time is I want a tapped hole. So I'm going to pick on that. I don't want a seat on it, but I do want it to be threaded. The size of it is 0.25. So I need to go in this direction because the note said that that was actually, I'm just going to have to pick the thread that I want. I have to change that to 0.25. Come on, 0.25, where are you? There it is, 0.25. And I want it to be, I'm looking at this whole note that I have right here. It says 6 times 0.25, which can be 1/4 or 0.25 dash 20 Unified National Course. That's the thread type that I have. So I've got 1/4 dash 20 UNC. I can leave this at 2B. The depth I want is through all. So that should go like whatever, that is 0.275. So actually, I don't know why it's giving me this. Let me go to select surface. I could pick the bottom. That would go to 0.75. So through all ought to be good. That ought to just take it right through there. I don't know why it's overriding with this. I could go ahead and put that in as 0.375 and override that if I need to and pick OK. And if I go to my top view and I look at that, that's where I want that guy to be. So then I'm going to pick like that. And you can see it's threaded. You can see some thread in there. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to use a pattern, which we haven't done this before. I'm going to choose a circular pattern. And it says to select the features. You can see that that's selected blue. So I'm going to pick this guy right here. Or I could go over here and pick on the hole in the tree. Either place works. Then it says rotation axis, and I have to pick on this button right here. And I can choose either the inside of this circle here, that hole there, or this outside circle here for my rotation angle, because those are concentric. So let's say I pick this one. It's going to pick right there in the middle. And then it says, how many holes do you want? I'm going to type 6. So what this is similar to is the polar array in AutoCAD. So 6 instances of that hole. I want it to fill a full 360 degrees, and everything else looks good, so I'm just going to pick OK, and that builds that guy right there. All right, so next thing I want to do is add these 2 tabs that stick up here on the side, and the height of those tabs is 1.375 plus this radius right here. So that's 1.375 plus 0.75, all right? But if I build them from on top of this right here, then I also have to subtract the height of the extrusion, which is 0.375. So if you think about that, that would mean that from this surface here to the center of that hole would be 1 if we subtract 0.375. And then we have a radius of 0.75. So the height from the top of this surface here would be 1 plus 0.75. So that's how I'm going to build those. I'm going to start a new sketch on this surface here, and I'm going to draw a rectangle, and I want to start at that corner, and I'm going to go in this direction, and the radius of that is 0.75. So if I double that to get the full width of it, that's going to be 1.5. So I'm going to type 1.5 tab, and the thickness of that is 0.375, like that, and then I'm going to enter. And so I'm going to go back to my home view, and I'm going to finish the sketch so you can see what that looks like. So I'm going to extrude that by picking right there, and the height of the extrusion is going to be 1 plus my plus sign 0.75. Okay, or I could have just typed 1.75 since I knew mathematically that's what it was, and choose OK. All right, so now I have the basic of that tab that sticks up, you know, right in there. Let me drag this over. And so imagine that this is just squared off. So what I'm going to use now is I'm going to use the fillet command with a radius of 0.75 to round that. And then I'm going to add this hole, and then I'm going to add this fillet right down here, and I'm going to add this fillet over here, and then I'm going to mirror all of that over to the back side. So the first thing I want to do is go to my fillet command and set that to 0.75 and press enter. And then I'm going to pick on this corner right there, and I'm going to pick on the back corner right there and choose OK. All right, because that fillet is 0.75. Now I have another fillet right down in here that should be 0.375, and this fillet over here should be 0.375. So I'm going to go to the fillet command again. Pardon me. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to type 0.375 and press enter. And this time I'm going to pick right there in that corner, and I'm going to pick right here in this corner, and I'm going to pick OK. Now the other thing I need to do is put in a hole, and that hole has a diameter of 0.5. This is a 0.5 and this is a 0.5. It says 3 times, so there's actually another hole right down here that's 0.5. So I'm going to put this guy in first and then mirror it over here to this side when I'm ready to do something with it. So I'm going to pick on the hole command, and I'm going to pick on this surface right there, and then I'm going to come pick on this arc. And when I pick on that arc, it centers the hole inside that. And this is a simple hole. It has a diameter of 0.5, and it goes through all, so that would put it through to the next side, and pick OK like that. Now I need another hole right down here on this before I mirror all this. I guess I could put that in, but let's just go ahead and let's just do a hole. So I'm just going to pick right down in there, and the distance for that hole would be from the back edge to the center of that hole. Let me see here what I want to do. I want to go from, oh, hang on, let me undo. What I wanted to do is place that hole, and then I wanted to do some dimensions for that hole. So I'm going to pick on this edge right here, and this dimension right here should be 1. And then I'm going to pick on that edge there, and this distance here should be 0.75. That's going to move that. And so then the diameter is 0.5, and it's a through hole. So I'm going to pick OK. So that places that guy, and if I go up here and pick on like front or top, I can see what that looks like. So that should be centered right here in line with these other guys. Now I'm going to go back to my home view. Okay, it's time to use the mirror command. And in order to do a mirror, remember you have to have a work plane that you're going to mirror around or about. And so I want a work plane that's halfway from this edge to the back plane over here on the other side. So I'm going to go to plane, pick on the down arrow right there by plane, and I want to say mid plane between two planes, and I'm going to pick on this edge here, and then I need the back edge over here. And if I have trouble getting that, I'll go to my view cube and I'll go in the upper right corner like that and just spin this guy around and pick right there. So I was able to select both planes, and now I'm going to go back to my home view. So now I have a work plane exactly halfway in through the middle of my part. Okay, so now I'm ready to do mirror. Okay, so I pick on the mirror and it says features. So select the features. So what I can do is actually come in here and I can choose this extrusion right there. And I can choose that fillet right there. I can choose fillet number 2, which is right there. I can choose that hole, okay? I don't want to choose this third hole because that's that hole in the center right there. So I'm going to copy, I'm going to make a mirror of the extrusion, the fillets, and this hole that goes through. And so you can see that features is selected. So I'm going to go to mirror plane and pick on that button. I'm going to go to the edge right here and pick. And you can see it's showing me everything it's going to mirror. So I'm going to pick OK. And all of that is mirrored. Now, if I spin this around, because I asked it to fillet this guy right here, that should be filleted. Let's see if it looks filleted. For some reason, that doesn't quite look like it mirrored that fillet. So let's see, where is that fillet over here? I see fillet 1 and 2. For some reason, it did not pick up on that fillet. So what I'm going to do is just use the fillet command. And I've got 0.375. I'm just going to pick in that corner right there. So I don't know what happened. For some reason, I didn't get that selected when it mirrored it over the other side, but I can still fix it by adding it right here. The downside of doing that is it's going to create another fillet in my tree, and I would have rather had that fillet be a part of all these others. But, you know, I could go back and redo that one if I want to, but I'm just going to pick OK, and that puts that in there. And then I'm going to go to the home view. All right, so are we missing anything else? It looks to me like we have everything that we need in our part. So at this point, I would want to come up here and do a file, save as. And what I would want to save this guy as is Actuator base. And I'm going to call mine 2022 because I'm using Inventor 2022, and just pick save. All right, so at that point I have this guy modeled, and I'm not going to tie you guys up any longer with this video, but I'm actually going to go in and fix that fillet that did not mirror over. I don't know why it didn't, but I'm going to fix that before I save all this stuff. But anyway, that's how you'll model this part. And you should have this part modeled before class next time. Okay, good luck.